Christmas is a jolly time of year, even in Larbert High School. But oh golly, we just found ourselves with a mystery. And much like Rudolph, this one's going down in history. One evening, Mr. Reed returns to his office and notices something peculiar. The Christmas tree. It's gone. He's been out all day chasing pupils and ordering from Capital Coffee. So who stole Mr. Reed's Christmas tree? That's where we come in. He called the S6 captains into his office and gave them one job. Solve the mystery. The mystery.
You guys! Get in here now! The Christmas tree's been stolen! Where do you think it is? It's your job to find it, so you better go and find it now! Right?
We've been gathering clues the past week, and now we need your help to solve the mystery. The first teacher we saw was Mrs. Wilson.
Oh, hello, Miss. How are you?
Matthew, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Were you in Mr. Reed's office yesterday by any chance?
Do you know, I wasn't in his office yesterday, but I did walk past at one point.
Did you notice the Christmas tree was up?
Do you know what I didn't notice, but I did see Mr. Grimmer with a Christmas tree.
That is awfully suspicious.
Off to Mr. Grimmer we went.
Sir. Hey Tim. Did you see anything suspicious yesterday? No. Been decorated. Do you like the tree? Been decorated. No. Where did you get that? You know the red bauble. Where did you get that one from?
Oh, I thought it was just part of the decorations.
Oh,
So
okay.
I heard like a bell go at like 12 o'clock, and when I went outside, it was just like lying in the corridor. So it was just like lying there. So I thought it must be one of ours. So it's going in our nice tree.
Because it's the same type that's on Mr. Reed's tree.
Right. Well, that can't be me because I've just said that I found it out there. So, but when I found it, I was with Mrs. Cullen, so you can ask her. But I thought it was definitely one of ours.
So from the middle of nowhere, at 12 o'clock, Mr. Reed's bauble apparently just appeared outside Mr. Grimmer's office. We went to see if Mrs. Cullen could back up Mr. Grimmer's story.
So where were you at 12 o'clock yesterday?
12 o'clock yesterday. Gosh, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast at 12 o'clock yesterday. Oh, I do remember. I was giving Mr. Grimmer constructive criticism on his tree decorations because, you know, he needed it. And thank goodness this random beautiful bauble just appeared from thin air and it just completed the tree.
So you definitely didn't get it from Mr. Reed's office?
Oh no, definitely not. It came out of thin air. But I'll tell you, guess what? There was somebody acting suspicious. Do you know who?
Who?
Mrs. Hearn. Mrs. Hearn was acting suspicious. I saw her like poking out, you know, of the door and like looking really strangely. I would maybe ask her.
Okay.
Not that I'm putting things in your head or anything, but it was definitely a bit strange.
Hi Liz, can I speak to you for a second?
Well, listen, if it's about that tree, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Listen, I've got no problem with that thing being stolen, none at all. Mr. Reed has gone tree mad. The guy was threatening to come in here dressed as a tree. He's going crazy.
Right, so what were you doing at 10 past 12 yesterday?
Well, I was waiting for PC Miller. I was due to see him at about 12 o'clock. He was running late, some kind of Christmas shenanigans going on in the school, I'm not quite sure what, but I was definitely checking to see where he was.
I see. Have you got any proof? that you could show me?
Well, I could show you the notes of the meeting. So that was some of the things that we spoke about. And actually, if you want to be real at my diary, oh, my lights are falling down. You can see there that I've got a date with him at 12 o'clock.
Ah, so it wasn't you that stole the Christmas tree then?
Oh no, it definitely wasn't me. Listen, I know he loves that Christmas tree. But I wouldn't want that Christmas tree. I've got no business with that Christmas tree. This is my Christmas tree.
It's a very nice tree.
Why would I want his? Do you know though, what I could tell you? I did see Miss Nazir. She was sneaking round about his office, and she came out at one point with the biggest grin on her face.
Well, I need to go and speak to Miss Nazir then.
Good idea.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Miss.
We already have a ton of clues, and it's now your chance to take part in this story. Log on to the Google form for round 1 of this year's Christmas quiz. You have 3 minutes to complete this. Any answers submitted after this time will not be counted. Not. So we return to this saga where we left it, with Miss Nazir being a prime suspect.
Hey miss, we're just wondering what you were doing in Mr. Reed's office yesterday.
Oh, I had to drop off some papers. Why do you ask?
His Christmas tree has gone missing, and we're just wondering if it was there when you went into his office.
Yeah, of course it was there. I hope you're not suggesting it was me who stole it. You have to go and ask Tina, who was taking down names of everyone that went into his office.
Wait a second. What do you actually mean by that?
Yeah, I haven't got a clue why, but plenty of people went into his office after me. I am definitely not your person.
Now this could be a bombshell. There's a list of all the people that went into Mr. Reed's office on the day the tree was stolen. And so, we went to speak to Tina.
Hey Tina.
Hello, how can I help you?
Is it true that you're taking down names of people that went into Mr. Reed's office yesterday?
Yeah, Mr. Reed asked me to. He thought his tree was so spectacular that he wanted to make sure that everybody in the school had seen it at least once. He also asked me to list people who had already seen it.
Do you remember who the last person was that went in?
Oh, I honestly haven't a clue. I can print you the list, but it was written in a spreadsheet. So it's just alphabetical order.
Do you remember anything about Mrs. Ear by any chance?
I'm sure she was one of the first people in.
Ah, so she's quite early on.
Yeah, I didn't miss a single person. Not one. If you're looking for who went in his office that day, I'll give you a list.
Can you print us a list, please?
Yeah.
Thanks.
We now have a list of everyone that went into Mr. Reed's office, but we need to narrow it down, and that's where two teachers come in. Both Mr. Rennie Evans and Mrs. Laird say they saw the culprit.
Hiya guys. Is it true that you seen the culprit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see the face?
No, I didn't.
No.
Oh. Do you remember anything about the culprit?
Yes. It was definitely a 6-foot man.
No, it was like definitely like a 5'4" woman, for sure.
Nee. Oh, what happened? It was definitely a 6-foot plus man.
Look, I'm just saying what I saw, and it was a short woman.
How do you love it? Are you just saying that because you think only a woman would do such a thing?
Absolutely not. I'm just saying what I saw, and I saw a short woman.
It was a 6-foot man.
Very small woman.
Damn! A 6-foot man.
The time has come again for you to take part. Log on to the Google form for round 2 and answer the questions. You'll be provided with a list of the names that Tina gave us, and you must choose who you think the culprit is. Again, you have 3 minutes to do this, and if you submit your Google form too late, it may not be counted. now had a chance to decide who you think the culprit was. But why did they do it? Why steal Mr. Reed's Christmas tree? Well, it's here that Mrs. Hill came in quite helpful.
Come in.
Hi, miss.
Hi, how are
I
we?
was just wondering, did you see anything suspicious yesterday?
Well, I was walking along C Block and I did find this piece of paper. But the really strange thing was, there's nothing on it.
Oh, that is really strange.
It is, it's bizarre. Unless it's written in a specific pen ink that we can't read it.
That may be true.
We'll take that back to the other captains.
Mrs. Hill's suggestion that there might be some type of invisible ink on the paper was useful, and so we went to see a man who would know just how to decode this sort of thing, Mr. Coyle.
Mr. Coyle, we think there's chemicals on this paper, but we can't figure out what there is.
Phenolphthalein. Chemical problem requires a chemical solution.
Oh. We want something easy to get into.
And hard to get out of.
Something that's easy to get into, but hard to get out of. You've heard the riddle, and it's now your job to try and find the motive. Log on to the Google form for round 3. You have 3 minutes. journey continued, and we found more clues. On the day the tree was stolen, on the ground floor of D block, 2 CCTV cameras were recording. One just as you're about to enter A block, and the other as you're about to leave the building. So was there anything interesting on these cameras? Well, there was no footage. Someone had covered up the cameras. But there was audio. So we went to ask Miss Farrell to see if she could give us any more clues.
Hey miss, have you looked at the audio from the cameras yet?
Yeah, I'm just looking there. The first one, you can see the audio on the Christmas tree, but the second one, there's no audio.
Thanks.
So she revealed that the first camera, placed as you're about to exit the building, had audio from the Christmas tree passing it. But the second camera, where you're about to enter A block, did not have any sound from the Christmas tree passing it. Which means the Christmas tree must have entered the ground floor of D block, but never left it. That's the final clue we have to solve this mystery. So, go to the Google form for round 4 and answer the questions. You have 3 minutes. We now have a message from the chaplain.
So there's many different views on Christmas. People have different opinions on it. There's people that absolutely hate Christmas.
Hate. Double hate. Loathe entirely.
And then, on the other hand, there's people that love Christmas.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town. Santa!
And then there's those in the middle that just want everyone to have a good time and a good experience of their Christmas holidays.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everyone!
I find myself in the middle because I want everyone to have a great experience at Christmas, because I think Christmas is that time of year where we get a little bit of light, a little bit of joy, a little bit of encouragement, because it gives us hope. Especially in these dark times like winter, where everything outside seems to be fading. Christmas brings that joy and it brings that hope. And actually, hope for me is the key. And I think we could all use a little bit more hope.
So let me tell you a little bit about why Christmas brings me hope. The Christmas story is one that I find really significant. It's a story that's filled with hope. And actually, as a Christian, it's like when I think about the Christmas story, it's where Jesus came to this world as a baby and was a symbol of hope. He was a symbol of hope for something that was going to bring freedom to the people of the time and freedom for all of humanity. And when I think about that story of Jesus coming down into this humble place, into this dark situation where the country was filled with Roman oppression, and Jesus came into the middle of all that as a vulnerable child, but grew up to be a saviour, grew up to be someone that made a difference and was compassionate and helped people. And this, it all came from this hope. And sometimes when you think about a child, you think about the possibility of what that child could be. And when we remember the Christmas story of the whole reason for the season and why his name is in the title, why it's called Christmas, and we think about this story of this child and how it brings hope to those that hear it. It says in Romans 15, I pray that God, who gives hope, will bless you with complete happiness, peace because of your faith, and may the power of the Holy Spirit fill you with hope. And when I think about this story, when I think about the Christmas story, I think that brings hope to me. That brings hope to me in dark times, and it brings joy to me.
Do you know what? Actually, we could actually bring a little bit of hope into other people's lives, couldn't we, this Christmas? That could be our challenge as we walk away from this. Because there's a multitude of ways that we could give hope. In fact, did you know that when you give hope away, you never fall into deficit? You've always got more to give. And you could be doing simple things, like you could leave somebody a note, just as a bit of encouragement. It could be a simple thing like giving your gran or your dad or your mum a hug, which actually might change their day. It could be giving somebody a simple gift, like a teacher, just to show how valuable they've been over this last year. Could be in a multitude of ways, just to leave a little light of hope in their lives. It could even be sharing a meal with somebody that needs it. There are a number of ways you could come up with, I'm sure yourselves creatively, of sharing hope at Christmas time. But we want to leave you with that challenge. How could you share your hope with somebody else?
It's time for the answers to this year's Christmas quiz. So, what time was the Christmas tree stolen? Well, this was probably one of the simplest to figure out. Mr. Grimmer told us he heard a bauble drop outside his office around 12 o'clock. This must have happened as the culprit was taking away the Christmas tree.
So, I heard like a bell go at like 12 o'clock, and when I went outside it was just like lying in the corridor. So it was just like lying there, so I thought it must be one of ours.
Round 2 asked you to figure out who the culprit was. So, who was it? Well, if you remember back to Mrs. Hurren's interview, you will remember we asked her what she was doing at 12:10 the previous day. She tells us she was waiting for PC Miller to arrive for their 12 o'clock meeting, which means he must have been
12:10 yesterday.
Well, I was waiting for PC Miller. I was due to see him at about 12 o'clock. He was running late, some kind of Christmas shenanigans going on in school, I'm not quite sure what, but I was definitely checking to see where he was.
I see. Have you got any?
which means he must have been 10 minutes late at the same time the Christmas tree was getting stolen. And if you remember back to the interview with Mrs. Laird and Mr. Rennie Evans, in the background, PC Miller walks down the stairs with a bauble. He must have lost it when he was stealing the tree and had to go back to get it to remove any clues. It's just luck we caught him on camera. Back to get it to remove any clues. It's just luck. Round 3 focused on the motive. Why steal the tree? You got the riddle that the culprit wanted something that's easy to get into but hard to get out of. The answer was trouble. But did the culprit act alone? Well, no, they didn't. If you look back to the riddle, note read, "We want," not "I want." It was "we want." And Mrs. Laird and Mr. Rennie Evans both seemed to be pretty sure they saw different people. So who was it then? Who was the second culprit? Well, it would have to be someone in D Block, as discussed by Miss Farrell. But who? Well, the answer was Mrs. Howie. Mr. Rennie Evans seen a short woman, so that description would match. Also, if you look back to the camera and the CCTV footage, you'll notice that whatever is placed in front of the camera is pink. And who is known for wearing pink tights around the school? Mrs. Howie. Furthermore, the past couple days, we put another clue up on the screens around the school. You might have noticed a photo of a Christmas tree with Marmite just sitting there randomly. And who's known for being a little bit obsessed with Marmite? Mrs. Howie. You see, PC Miller was giving a talk to Mrs. Howie's class on crime and punishment, and they got to talking, and they realised they'd always been seen as good, upstanding citizens their whole life, and so they wanted to rebel. Hence the motive. They wanted to get in trouble. PC Miller took the Christmas tree from Mr. Reed's office. He then took it through the SLT corridor where he dropped the bauble, went along and up to the link where Mrs. Laird spotted him from behind carrying away the Christmas tree. After the link, Mrs. Howie then took it, ran along the first floor of C Block, where she was spotted by Mr. Rennie Evans. She then took it down to her classroom and hid it at the back of her classroom. Mrs. Howie then left a note to talk to the captains.